All right, so what I did was I logged into my marketplace. Earlier you saw a sign in button and now it says download. And that's because I have signed in with my account. And what I will be doing is going to download a library listing on my page. And as I said before, the easiest way to do that is to click on the publisher's page. And here is the Prime Logging Enterprise Library. And all I have to do now is, once I made up my mind, is to hit the download button. And what you get in return is basically, a zip file or a package. This is a library, so you get a package, which means that you can add this package to your personal package feed in Studio. And I have a project lined up right here, and it's a test kit that will allow you to test this component. So I am in Studio, and what happened recently is that the component that I downloaded has to be updated to 2022 version. And the reason for that is that the earlier component that I just downloaded was supporting .NET 4, but now I have to rebuild the component to support .NET 5 or higher. So I have done just that, and what I'll be showing you will apply to this listing regardless of which version it is. So once you have downloaded the package, the easiest way for you to consume it is to go to your package manager in your Studio project. Remember, this is a library, and a library can be consumed in a project, right? So in this project, I'll be consuming the library. The easiest way for you to do that is set up an additional package feed for your personal packages, right? And if you go to the settings part of manage packages, you can see how to set up package sources here. Now, in this case, what I have done is I have set up a source for myself, and it is a local folder on my machine, and I've enabled that, right? So once you enable that and save your settings, what happens is that when you come back to manage packages and you bring that window up, you will see that your local package source is available to you, right? And if you take that package you downloaded and drop it in that physical location, then it will be visible here for you to pull into this project. So if I click on packages, I'm going to initiate a search here. That is because my personal package repository has got endless number of packages, as you can see. So what I'll do is I'm going to search for primed logging. And here is the package that I have, which is the latest version, the 2022 version, and there is a description of it. And I click on it, and as usual, I can click install. I've already installed it. That's why it says update. But if you have not yet installed it, it says install, and then you click save, and this library will become part of your UiPath project.
And we also have a way to directly import the NuGet package also, right?
Correct.
There are even some other ways as well on your UiPath Assistant. There is a tab for Marketplace. You can actually directly go and search for Marketplace components from there too. It's only filtered for the ready-to-go automations by default, but there is a way you can find like the whole repository.
Right. The reason I do it this way is because it gives me a lot of control in my own package.
Absolutely. Store. No, absolutely. Right? Yeah, that's right.
Right. So if you now go and look at your project dependencies, you can see that the package is here. How do you know that the methods of this library are available to you? Basically, a library is, like I said, does not have a UI. It has methods like a function. So once you have saved settings to your package repository on your project, you come back to your activities. And in the activities, if I look for Prime, here you will see the name of the library called primed logging, and the method that is available to you is called primed log, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is like any other activity type. And if you want to log something, you pull this activity here and you add it to your project. And what you have is, just like any other UiPath activity, you have a library method. And most usually, these library method properties are available to you via the properties tab you see on the right. And by going into the documentation, you can understand how to fill in these entries and then save your project and run your project. I'm not going to get into the detail of what this library does. There's enough information on that listing. And if you're interested, you can look at it. But this shows you how you might use a UiPath library component that you have downloaded from the marketplace. There's another way of doing it if you are part of an enterprise, right? If you're part of an enterprise and you have downloaded a component from a trusted publisher, right? You can deploy it to your Orchestrator tenant feed. And then all members of your development team who are going to be working on a related project and would like to use that library can also download the library directly from the tenant feed, right? They don't have to have personal stores and add the packages to their personal package feed, etc. The advantage of that is tenant package feed is centralized in the enterprise. That means if you update a library package, or the project manager or the team lead updates the package, then you can get the most updated package from the package feed and update your projects, right? So for that, you have to follow a few steps, and that starts with your Orchestrator. Again, you have to have the proper permissions to manage the Orchestrator settings. Under normal circumstances, when you go to your tenant in your Orchestrator, you have, if you go all the way to the right, there is settings. And when you look at the Orchestrator settings, there is a tab named deployment. And by default, the package deployment is set to internal, and the libraries feed is set to host only feed. Now, this is important. The reason why it is set to host only feed is these are all libraries that are part of the UiPath infrastructure in the Orchestrator, right? If you have a resident Orchestrator in-house, when you install the Orchestrator product, those libraries will be made available to you. If it's a cloud orchestrator, they are part of UiPath's infrastructure, right? And where can you see those libraries? If you go to packages, and if you click on libraries, there are several libraries that are actually part of UiPath's infrastructure. So by default, you have access to the UiPath library feed. This is the host. Remember, there's a difference between host and tenant, right?
It's the holy grail of all the packages.
Correct. This is the holy grail of all the packages. Now, you might not want to add stuff here because, first of all, you do not have the ability to add. Look at this. You don't have any interface to upload a library, right? So what do you do with that library that you want to now put in your feed? So for that, you go back to your settings and you enable what is called as a tenant feed, right? So basically, you come down here and you go to deployment, and you come down to libraries. And here again, you have the ability to completely shut down the host feed and not access UiPath's resident libraries at all by enabling only tenant feed. But I wouldn't recommend it because you might want both sets of libraries. So I would recommend that you enable both host and tenant. And when you do that, you come in here, and then what you can do is you can also see that you can enable secure deployment, in which case you'll have to publish an API key for those libraries, right? So we'll not get into that, but this is what you do if you want to enable both host and tenant feeds.
Yeah, Andy, one thing that I just want to add here is that what Andy is showing here is very important for organizations mainly that has a center of excellence. if you're a developer that's a part of a larger group that has a center of excellence, please don't get into any trouble by
Right.
enabling this. Check with them. You don't want to have any hiccups in your automation journey. So always, this is one way for the COEs to actually control what's on your feed, because
Correct.
these are all third party. Even though it's available on the UiPath Marketplace, anybody could, like, it could be a partner, it could be an individual contributor that's actually uploading these components. So for your company to vet it out, that's where the COE comes in. They actually check these status that what Andy was talking about, the certifications and the reviews, and if it's from a trusted source. So they all like check all that, and also like get that green signal from your cybersecurity team, so that they are very clear that this package is a very good package to be within your organization network.
Correct.
Only come here if you know what you're doing. That's the bottom
Exactly.
line.
Exactly. Also remember,
And if you want to experiment it, then you can feel free to experiment with community edition of
correct.
Orchestrator,
Yeah.
not with your organization.
Correct. When you are submitting something to UAT or production, the people who are in charge of vetting your code must look for things that are not intrusive or malicious, right? And having personal package repositories and making them part of your project can work against you in an organization, right? That's not a practice that anyone would advocate. So please stick with your RPA Center of Excellence policies, right? And like Pradeep said, if you don't know what you're doing, this is not a place to mess around, and you can easily corrupt your package feeds, you can easily corrupt your projects. So please do be careful, right? Just for completeness, I'm going to show you what kind of deployments are available. There is an internal deployment. Again, this goes directly to your tenant now. But if you want an external deployment, then you'll have to publish a URL to your package repository. Now, if your organization has got their own package repository, then as a UiPath developer, you will be building those packages and deploying them to that repository. And then you could put that URL here, and that URL will be available to you in your studio project, right? Similarly, with security, like I said, if the package is signed and stuff like that, you will need additional keys to be put in here. And then when people are consuming the project, they have to furnish that API key, right? But for this demonstration, we will be simply using the internal deployment method. And once I do that and save my settings,
and just one thing here to note, that what Andy is showing is being done by the administrators usually.
Correct.
So of the orchestrator. So you wouldn't have to do this like every single time. This is just like a one-time setting. So if you're doing this for the first time and your organization is brand new, that's when you will do this.
Correct. And so now that I've enabled the tenant feed, look at the difference in the packages interface of your tenant. Remember, you are on the tenant, and I go to packages, and I go to libraries. Remember, you have the upload button in your normal automation package interface. We're not talking about that. We're talking about specifically libraries. If I click on libraries, now you can see that the upload button is enabled, right? And deploying a custom library is the same as deploying an ordinary automation package, right?
Yeah.
Here you can see I have uploaded the package that I downloaded from the marketplace, and it is available to me through the host, through the tenant feed. So how do I see, where do I see that? If I go back to my studio environment and come back to manage packages, and if I go to Orchestrator tenant, remember, host is only UiPath's resident libraries provided to you by UiPath. Orchestrator tenant is your tenant, right? So when I go to tenant, I can find my library here, right? So imagine a group of developers in your team having access to this central Orchestrator tenant feed, where all custom components have been deployed, and all of them can get updates every time a new package version is updated to this Orchestrator tenant feed.
Usually the Orchestrator tenant feed is used by internal components that are built and shared across. These are reusable components within an organization that, like single sign-on, components, logging, some specific kind of validation that you have to perform. Again, every organization have their own custom utilities that are used.
Correct.
So it's a great repository and center point, right? So
Right.
thanks for showing that, Andy. I'm sure a lot of folks might not even have known about it, and even if they have known about it, this is a good refresher and
Right.
best practices how to implement and how to put that into their in the COE process.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
sometimes, being developer, we are very much focused on what I am doing and
Right.
how I am building something.
Right.
But eventually, in the end, we all, in some or the other way, we also work for our organizations, and we need to bring those best practices over there as community members, as UiPath experts. That's kind of our own responsibility to learn about it and share it with the community.
Right. Well, there is one last piece left, and I want to show the audience how to consume a template. Remember, what I showed you now was a library. If you want to consume a template, with the recent versions of UiPath Studio, UiPath has made it convenient by making some of the marketplace contributions available to you in Studio, right? Now, one of the things that you might want to do is just close this project. But if you want to consume a template, what happens is that template has to be opened up as a project, right? But I'll show you that I'm going to skip the part where I'm going to close Studio, but I'm just going to show you if you want to start a new project, how will you do it, right?
Yeah.
So you go to Home, and then you say, go to the right side of your Studio interface. You will see templates, and you can go to More Templates, right? When you click on More Templates, you will see.
Remember, these are like templates are like your starting points, right? So
Correct.
what Andy is showing is for you to start a new project is because like you need to use that as your blueprint, and from there on you customize it for your purpose.
Correct. And again, like I said, if you want to search, this search is almost similar to what you saw on the UiPath marketplace. And here you can see that I'm happy to report that the RPA Vanguard template is part of the marketplace, a couple of them. And if you want to start a new project, you click on this template, and UiPath will initiate the action. The Studio will initiate the action to install the template. Again, minimally, you have to accept the license to use the template. And when you click Use Template, the project template will be installed automatically, and a new project will open up with all the components of the project template right there for you to use. Right? It is that easy.
And going back to that COE example, many organizations come back and ask, like, how do I give like my developers a starting point? So if you have a certain structure to say, like, this is how I want all my developers to use, and that makes the process of the COE very easy when they vet out, the solutions. So this is a great way to build a template for your organization and say, like, everybody can use this, and you can have several different templates for various different, systems or different business units as well.
Correct. And to point out what Priya said, to build upon what she said, this is an enterprise RPA framework. Don't think that because you're using a template, it has to be always an RE framework template. Here you can find attended frameworks, right? Similarly, you can have templates for doing even the most simplest things. So do not think that it's something huge, and do not be intimidated or do not hold back. All you have to do is make sure that you find the right kind of template. But opening a template in Studio is as simple as this. And you can see that the descriptions that are listed in this box are almost identical to the one that are there on the marketplace. So you don't really have to go back to the marketplace to look for it. It's right here for you to actually scan through before you hit the create button.
Yeah.
So when you hit the create button, a new project will be created for you.
I think UiPath is doing a really great job in terms of bringing everything in the Studio itself,
Right.
rather than trying to go find things and then bring them or import them in the studio.
Right.
So you have like templates even for packages. You can get it directly from the package dependencies. Other ready to go automations you can directly find from the assistant. So
Correct.
there are many ways, and they keep changing these things, right? So like we have already mentioned in our previous episodes for Forum, we have always talked about Forum is the one-stop shop for all UiPath news and product updates. So keep visiting
Right.
those. I think that's a great helpful resource. So
Yeah, but
this
I
is
think that yeah, go ahead, Pradeep. Sorry.
no. So I was thinking that this is great. Now we have templates in place here, and the project dependencies in terms of all the libraries are also incorporated. I'm very excited to learn more about how to actually create these
Right.
libraries.
Yeah, maybe we can cover, in the next, episode, one of the future episodes, I can show you what I did to create this prime log library, because it's the simplest of them, and how I submitted that to UiPath, and we'll cover some of the important steps that are required, so that you can, audience here who are motivated can go and submit their components to UiPath and have them listed in the marketplace. I think
Thank
that will
you
be a
so
good
much, Andy. This
Yeah,
is a
no,
great start for our audience, to get started, like get any of the tools or, any of the starter packs that are available in Marketplace. They can just like get go and like, incorporate all these in their automations.
So I hope the audience likes this, and please do tell us what you feel about this video and what we can do better next time. And also please do like, share and subscribe to this channel, and we'll
no,
talk to you soon.
I'm looking for the next episode of this very soon, so
Very
that
soon.
not just our viewers can learn, but we also as community members can learn and add more to it, and to expand our knowledge.
Yep, we will definitely do that.
All right, with that, thank you everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye now.